Now that I'm uploading my video of the first 10 movies, I had anticipated being able to do 20, and I can't. Because unlike the music, where I can just go, here's the songs, it just doesn't work that way with movies. There's just too much to explain, there's too much to unpack. So, that being said, let us continue with 190. Movie number 190, which is. When I write down movie titles, I often forget the word the. So if you see me writing down movie titles and you're like, wait, there should be a the in there, it's especially if it's at the start of the movie, I'll just ignore it. The Invention of Lying, which stars Ricky Gervais. Ricky Gervais is brilliant. He's hilarious. And in this movie, it's kind of a touchy subject. It's the idea that it is a society where nobody's ever told a lie. And he tells a lie to comfort someone. The lie being that there's a man in the sky and there's a place for you to go after you die, and that you don't die and you're immortal. And everybody gloms onto that, like, oh, that's amazing. Tell us about this place. So he just makes up these stories, and the insinuation being that religion being a lie. And of course, everybody knowing Ricky Gervais's leanings in that direction, you can see it. But it is a really good movie. Jennifer Garner might be as cute as a button in almost every movie she's in. 13 going on 30 being a good example of that. As I mentioned in the last video, that's not on this list. If you hear me mentioning a movie and talking about it's a good movie, it's probably not on the list. I like Jennifer Garner a lot. And in Invention of Lying, I like her in this one too. She's very likable, even though in this movie her character's a snob. Her character is spurning the advances of Ricky Gervais because she doesn't think he'll be a good mate. He doesn't think that their genetics will mix to make cute kids, so therefore she doesn't want to be with them. And it's an interesting story. It's fun, it's interesting, and it's a different way of looking at society than what we have now. And if people were that brutally honest with each other, oh wow, yeah, I would be fired from every job pretty much as soon as I walk in the door. Number 189. And honestly, I enjoyed this movie the first time I saw it, and I don't mind admitting it. And that's the original Transformers. You know, the one where Megan Fox is all bent over the car and checking out the manifold and the heat covers, and who cares? She's bent over the car. That moment, that Megan Fox moment, that is the iconic moment. And to me, it's almost like her whole career since then has been trying to live up to that moment. I will say that movie had some good parts to it. There was some fun in it. The characters weren't stupid. In every Transformers after the first movie, the characters are extremely stupid, and the movie becomes, as the movies went on, they became more and more about humans and less about robots, which would be fun other than the fact that it's supposed to be about robots. So Transformers has taken a nosedive from where it might have been 7 or 8 years ago. And if I was doing a Hot 100 list, Megan Fox probably wouldn't have been on it. Whereas 8 or 10 years ago, she probably would have been number 1. But, Transformers for me is not a bad movie. The problem is it suffers from the fact that Shia LaBeouf has his personality outside of the movie. And there have always been rumors about him being kind of weird. And that's not a shocker to anybody who's watched him act for 5 minutes. And again, I think it gets saddled with a lot of the crap from Revenge of the Fallen. Revenge of the Fallen was just awful. It is the only movie I've ever kind of yelled at the screen during, where with about a half an hour left in it, and the big battle scenes going on between one army of silver robots and another army of silver robots, that I can't tell the difference between. Every 2 seconds I was like, wait, did they just kill Megatron? Nope. Is that Megatron? Nope. Is that no? All right, I don't know who these guys are. And then they show more robots coming in from space, and I said out loud, we don't need more robots. Because I already didn't know what was going on, and now they were bringing more robots in. And the original Transformers kind of kept it simple. There was very few robots in the movie. It didn't feel bloated. And even Transformers, the original series in the 80s, it got really bloated with characters. I have the entire series. And when you try watching Series 3 or 4 as an adult, you're like, wow, that character was only in here to sell a Transformer in the store, because he's never in another episode. And they start getting away from what works. They start screwing around with the formula. The idea was that the Decepticons were all planes, the Autobots were all vehicles that drove on the ground, and then by the end of season 4, you got a UFO. What kind of camouflage is being a UFO? Stupid. Stupid. And by the end of Revenge of the Fallen, you're thinking about that UFO all over again. Number 188. Also a movie that I think is underappreciated because of when it came out, and that people expected a good movie about a video game. Mortal Kombat's a fun movie. A lot of kicking, a lot of fun, a lot of punching. And if you don't take it seriously, it's fine. Mortal Kombat, the video game, I really didn't like. I didn't. I was not a Mortal Kombat fan. Mortal Kombat, the movie, I can enjoy that. I can appreciate it. I really can. I can appreciate Mortal Kombat for what it is. It's a piece of fluff. It's not there to rival Citizen Kane, which isn't on my list because I've never watched that movie. I've never watched Citizen Kane. I've heard about it. It's supposed to be amazing. Orson Welles is awesome. I get it. I've never seen it.
I didn't know that.
So it's not on my list. I cannot, just like The Godfather is not on my list. So there's
Bother me, but I didn't know you hadn't seen Citizen Kane.
No. Nope. Mortal Kombat I have, so it's 188. If I'd seen Citizen Kane, it would be 189. But it's 188.
You liked it. You might not like it.
I'm sure I would. I like those fartsy artsy movies. And Mortal Kombat's all fartsy, no artsy. It's just, there's some fun stuff like Reptile. The fight with Reptile is fun. Goro is so badly CGI'd, but it's hilarious. His fight with Johnny Cage is kind of stupid and funny because of how bad it is. So for that, I give Mortal Kombat props, because it, at a time when Street Fighter came out with Jean-Claude Van Damme, that was a good idea. I know, we need an American. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Sir, I don't think he's American. You're fired. Mortal Kombat was way better than the Street Fighter movie. And Mario Brothers. Mario Brothers was probably one of the worst pieces of trash ever put to film. But I'm not doing my worst movies ever list. That would be a completely different list. Be a lot of Manos Hands of Fate on there. Number 187. And this one's going to surprise some people because you're going to wonder what it is. No. Hot Fuzz was the first of the Cornetto trilogy. World's End is not on here. World's End's kind of fun. Shaun of the Dead is on this list, and it's much higher. Hot Fuzz was the first one, and it's a fun movie. Simon Pegg, it's kind of a fun movie. Some good laughs all the way through. The idea of a, rough and tumble cop getting sent to a small town where nothing happens. It's fun. And it shows Simon Pegg's comedic side. Simon Pegg is really underappreciated. I think as an actor, he does some fantastic work across the board. And I don't know that that's always appreciated, but I appreciate the movie Hot Fuzz. It's a fun little movie. 186. So there's some bad Halloween movies out there. In fact, there are only 2 Halloween movies that show up on my list. Halloween 4 is good because it gets back to being a Michael Myers story. Now, Michael Myers dies at the end of Halloween 2. And I'm talking the original series. I'm not talking about whatever Rob Zombie was putting on the screen. Rob Zombie's reboots, though, take a lot of flack they don't deserve. I do have some issues with the way Michael Myers' family turns out in the original, or in the remakes. But I think the remake had a good movie in there. I think it was just the fact that he was kind of forced to fast forward and get to all the set pieces from the original movie. I think if the entire movie had been about Michael Myers' childhood and how he became Michael Myers, I think it would have been a much better movie. I think one of the things that I really appreciate about Halloween 4 is the introduction of Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris now is a slasher queen. She's a scream queen. And Danielle Harris was playing a younger character than she really was in both Halloween 4 and 5. 5's not on the list because 5's just a remake of 4 with some weird guy with a pair of boots. I don't get part 5. Part 5's really weird, but part 4 is really well done. And there's just the right amount of tension. It's not too gory. Again, the idea that Michael survives this is ridiculous, but that's a horror movie for you. There's a lot of ridiculousness to go around. Um, like I said, it's not overly scary. It's got its moments. The cops are useless as always, and a lot of the tropes that you see people making fun of with horror movies really come from Halloween movies. And without Halloween, you don't have Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th was spawned from Halloween. Basically, Halloween's made this amount of money. How can we make that kind of money? Well, we can't rip it off, but we can be influenced and change Jason. And Jason came out of that. 185. You know what? I'm not rating the entire title for this one. It's just not happening. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And I will qualify Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey in here as well. Bogus Journey I thought was kind of brave at the time because it does try something different. But when you watch it a second or third time, it's really stupid. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is fun. There's a lot of fun moments in this, whether it's with Napoleon, Socrates, Stations in the second movie, I think. Anyways, George Carlin's fantastic in this. And that kind of goes without saying. George Carlin's fantastic in anything he does. Was excellent in anything he does. But Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is fun, and sadly this is part of the reason why I can never take Keanu Reeves seriously again. Because as an actor, every time he's in a movie and he's trying to be all serious, all I do when I picture being all angry is picturing him smiling and saying excellent and playing the air guitar. And I can't get that out of my brain. I can't. Ruined the Lake House. No. The script ruined the script ruined the Lake House. And everything about the Lake House. Just call him on the phone. Stupid people. I gotta go wait for a letter. Call him on the phone. Ask for his phone number, you idiots. Number 184. Very good movie. First animated movie on the list. Iron Giant. Iron Giant is a movie that is both sweet and yet disturbing if you really think about it. Iron Giant is different. Very, very different film. It's a brave movie, really, and it has its happy parts and it has its upset parts, and all of it comes together to form this fun movie for kids. But it's got enough for adults to keep you interested if you're an adult. And I was very interested in what was going on in Iron Giant the whole way through. Very, very good movie. I think it's lost in and among all of the animation that came out then and has come out since then. And it is worth going back and looking at. If you've never heard of it, by all means, find it, watch it. It's fun. Might be the best acting Vin Diesel's done. I know Fast and Furious are fantastic. They're so good I couldn't put them on this chart because they would have blown everything else away, so I had to just take Fast and Furious out. Sarcasm. Iron Giant, between Iron Giant and Groot, that might be the best acting he's done. 183. People are like, what about Pitch Black? What about Pitch Black? 183 is Mean Girls. What's this doing on my chart? It's fun. Stop trying to make fetch happen. The ridiculous storylines, plot lines of the movie. I don't have She's the Man in here. I don't have Sydney White in here. I don't have a lot of the fun romance kind of movies that you wouldn't think I'd like. She's the One, that kind of thing. I've really enjoyed those movies. I've usually really enjoyed those movies. Not enough to put them on a chart like this, but Mean Girls makes it. This was the last movie that I saw Lindsay Lohan in where I said, wow, she's really got it together. This woman's really, she's a good-looking girl, and she's got a really bright future. And I don't know what went on there, but Mean Girls for me is still a fun movie. And it's interesting, too, because now, when you look at it now, it was made as Lindsay Lohan's star vehicle, and yet Rachel McAdams is the highlight of the movie. And Rachel McAdams is the best-looking actress in the movie. And she has probably the best character in the movie. So it was supposed to be a big star vehicle, sort of like Desperately Seeking Susan was supposed to make Rosanna Arquette, and Madonna stole the show. And seemingly with Mean Girls, it's happened as well that Rachel McAdams stole the show. And Lacey Chabert trying to make fetch happen is awesome. So I often say something is very fetch because I try to make fetch happen. So the fact that that joke lives on for me all these years later means that this movie belongs on this list. Fetch might be the reason it's on the list. 182. You've never heard of this one. And don't even pretend you have. This is a movie. It's Canadian. It was made for Dirt Cheap. And it won a contest or some kind of a script contest. A little bit zombie. So what you have here is a guy gets bit by a mosquito that bit a zombie. So he's infected. A little. Thus the little bit zombie that he was bit became a zombie, but he's only a little bit of a zombie. So there's a good wordplay in the title. It is a fun movie. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And, I'm trying to think of his name now. Sean. Anyways, he went on to become Wesker in the Resident Evil movies. So you think of Wesker as very stoic and doesn't show any emotion. And in this movie, he really lets go. And he is hilarious in it. A Little Bit Zombie is more fun than it should be. The two actresses that are in this movie, I've followed them since the movie came out. And just to see what they're doing with their careers. There is some amazingly awesome, well-timed swearing in it. There is a former WWE wrestler in it who you'd really have to be a WWE fanatic to even realize, hey, he was a wrestler. And it's just funny. Like, when they realize he's a zombie, he's got to eat brains. Okay, well, we'll go to a bar, we'll pick up a guy, and we'll bring him home so my boyfriend can eat him so we can keep the wedding on track. Yeah. So he's supposed to be getting married, and when his fiance finds out he's a zombie, she decides, you know what, we're just going to feed him people. So there's horror-esque qualities to it, but it's really more a comedy than anything else. There's a lot of gore in it, but it's comedic. It's not played straight. It is more fun than it should be. So A Little Bit Zombie, I highly recommend it. And to end this video, which, God's sake, it's even longer than the last one. I think this was, no, it was 1982. Conan the Barbarian. My introduction to Arnold Schwarzenegger was not through his workouts, and thankfully it wasn't through any of the other videos that he was making at the time. I get it, Arnold. We all need money sometimes. Conan the Barbarian is really fun, and it is, it's gory, it's gritty, it's low budget, and the gore is pretty off-putting to some people, I would think. James Earl Jones as a villain is so wonderful. James Earl Jones chews up the scenery in everything he does in this movie. And they limit Arnold Schwarzenegger's lines in it, which makes sense because his English at this point was not... Well, look, this was a couple years before Terminator. And in Terminator, he had very, very, very few lines. Directors who worked with Arnold well understood it was the physique and the persona that you were hiring, not the actor. And they understood that with Conan. So they're like, all right, we're going to put a sword in your hand, you're going to wield it, and it's going to be awesome. Sandahl Bergman plays his girlfriend in it. She is both beautiful and amazing, and tremendous movie that is far better than it should be. It's sometimes scary in parts. And it's the music. The soundtrack for Conan the Barbarian is just amazing. I really think some of these really cool, rollicking soundtracks that we see for action movies started with Conan the Barbarian and the original Terminator. That's where I think we realized that for action movies, really, really solid, strong, classic-sounding music can bring it about. Like, Star Wars did that for science fiction. But Conan and Terminator did that for action slash... And in Terminator, I guess you could say action slash horror. Because there's some horror aspects to Terminator, definitely. But yeah, so there you go. For tonight, I finished up till 181. And I feel good. I don't have a problem with any of my selections so far. I have not looked at any of them and gone, oh, Shannon, what were you thinking? So remember, this is Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, more than Bogus Journey. I'm not going to put them both on the list because they're really similar movies. And I know they've talked about doing a third part, which we haven't seen yet. I hope we don't, because I think Bill and Ted 30 years later would just be depressing. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And hey, 190 through 181. This is going to take a while. Hopefully you guys stick around till the end. And if you do, thank you so much.